Good afternoon. Welcome to the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust meeting for July 29th, 2025. I'll now call the meeting to order. Item 2 on the agenda is the approval from the minutes from June 17th, 2025 trust meeting. If there's no questions, we can take a motion in a second, which we have. Please cast your votes. The item passes. Item 3 on the agenda is the ratification of claims for June 2025. We can take a motion in a second on that as well. That item passes as well. Man, we are moving. Brings us to items for individual consideration. Item 4A is a joint resolution amending the Oklahoma City Retail Incentives Policy adopted in October of 2008 by the city and the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust. Mr. Sudel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we wanted to bring before you this policy as we started working on this, and Joanne and I have been working on it along with Tammy Fate from the Chamber and their retail specialists. And really, as the Chairman just said, this is about 17 years old, little under, but so we really just wanted to revisit this, do some administrative updates, but there are a couple of more major policy changes in here. So I'm just going to go through very quickly the policy, the administrative changes, and then talk about kind of the two bigger points on it. But so want to remind everyone that this policy is not an entitlement, but it's something that the overarching things in the policy, the concepts and the goals here, which are still there and not changing, are that this is to really support new sales tax through destination and regional type of projects, or to support underserved areas, and the incentives should be performance-based and not exceed the new taxes that are generated. The goals in the policy have not changed. It says it's to increase the tax base, better quality of life, provide merchandise and entertainment, attract other types of development, and stop sales tax leakage to other communities. So some of the administrative changes here were just, when this was originally created, we used a system, the SIC code, Standard Industrial Code system, which is an older classification system for businesses. So we're switching to the NAICS code, which is the North American Industry Classification System, which is more frequently used these days. And that's what we're using to determine what's retail. We also are, so it's limited to retail categories, and in a moment I'll talk about, we are adding one piece that could potentially pull in some things that are entertainment type things if they're outside of the retail category, but I'll talk about that in a moment. We also wanted to clarify the application process, as the Alliance did not exist when this is created, and the practice is really these types of applications come through the Alliance and the Chamber, and we work with the city and the city manager's office. We also want to clarify that incentives must be approved by both this body and the city council, as that was ambiguous in the policy, but that's the practice. And we also want to clarify that the intent, not that we're limited to this, but the intent is that we would only use the general fund portion of sales tax for these incentives, trying to stay away from from the dedicated sales taxes. So really, the couple of changes we've made there was really two major categories that said, you either have to be a regional destination, which is like 250,000 square feet of usable space, and 50% of your sales coming from outside of a 25-mile radius. That stays the same. We had another category that you could be eligible under called destination retail, and that was where you had to have at least $20 million of annual sales and to be a new product or good to this market. So that stays the same. However, we're adding in that category also a couple things. One would be, 20 million and over is a pretty significant number to have new sales, but also we wanted to set a threshold of 75 million that really, if you're at 75 million or above, we want you here regardless if it's new or not. And that's something that we're adding to, and that's a very limited amount of retailers that would fit under that category. Again, I think that's probably more from the standpoint of trying to make sure we don't leak those sales to other communities. And then we added the ability to use destination entertainment from non-retail categories, but only if it has over $25 million worth of sales and it's part of a mixed-use development with a unique experience. So again, trying to think from how things have changed, maybe from almost 20 years ago, that a lot of these big retail developments have really big entertainment options as part of the draw to bring people in to buy goods and services. So we still also have, the categories are unchanged, that for redevelopment areas and underserved areas that we could do projects that are as small as 5,000 square feet. So that remains in the policy. So those are the major changes. Again, we have not used this very often. It's been a handful of projects, I think, like Costco, Cabela's, the Outlet Mall, Von Maur. I think that's it. So it's been a pretty limited use, and that's really the intent, is trying to not have to incentivize everything that comes to the city. The city's the draw, the wonderful city we've built, but on the other side of that is some of these really big destination retailers, as we're gonna talk about on the next item, are things we want here because it is competitive with other communities, and we want to make sure those land here. So we have to answer any other questions.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Sudol? All right, if not, we can take a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second. Any item passes. Item 4B is a joint resolution authorizing the general manager of the trust to negotiate an economic development agreement not to exceed $8 million to support the development of a Shields sporting goods store in Oklahoma City. Mr. Sudol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as we just kind of alluded to, this is an exciting deal to attract Shields Sporting Goods here to Oklahoma City. And Trevor Klein, the Director of Operations, is going to come on up and give us a presentation. But just very quickly, what we're looking at here, and this would obviously have to be negotiated, approved by council, approved by this body, bring back an agreement that has all these points in it. But the deal would be a maximum over 10 years of $8 million of incentive. It'd be capped annually at $800,000. We expect this to be about $130 million a year in sales business. So if you kind of do the math there, the general fund would end up receiving probably around $2.9 million, somewhere in that range. If we have to pay an $800,000 incentive, the city would get to keep the difference on that. So great project. And the other part on this is, I think you guys are going to talk about it. It's going to help really set the tone for a new development that we hope that also attracts other things. But Trevor's going to talk about Shields, I think, to start with.
I've got a quick 45-minute presentation. No, just kidding. I think, I guess I don't necessarily have a ton prepared, but the one thing I wanted to go through a little bit is just tell you a little bit about Shields. As I run into people in places maybe we've not been before, and certainly as we are going to pursue, a development agreement, I would want to know who is Shields and what are we. And so I think this works. Hey, there we go. And so a little bit about me. Who am I? I'm Trevor Klein. I'm our Director of Operations. I've worked for Shields for a little over 25 years, about as long as I can remember. I started there when I was in college and didn't know what I was going to do besides business, and I'm still working on figuring that out. I just never left. And so here we are, and the first thing about Shields a little bit is that we're an employee-owned company, and so don't be deceived by the buildings. They are huge. They are massive. There's no doubt about it, but we're an employee-owned company of about 13,000 total associates, and we're 100% owned by our employees. And so there's no one person who owns Shields. We're not public. We're never going to go public. That's not our goal. Our goal is to take care of our shareholders, which happen to be our employee owners. And really that's the basis of everything we do. Before we make any kind of a decision or anything else like that, we're very conservative with our growth because it's always about what's in the best long-term interest of our employee owners. And so you can see that throughout. It's one of the things you'll see with the tenure of our associates is, for retail, it's a fairly unique model, and we're now one of the largest ESOPs in the country, I think number 6. The second thing about a Shields store that makes us different, or at least I like to think makes us different, we really stress the experience of the store. If you've been in a Shields store, maybe you've been down to the Colony, maybe you've been to Tulsa, They're an amazing store. There's a Ferris wheel, there's a restaurant, there's the aquarium, which is crazy expensive. I don't recommend doing those unless you win a big lottery judgment. But it's really about the experience of the store. And Steve Scheel, who I worked with for many years, he's retired now, really believed in that our goal is to be the Disneyland of sporting goods. But anybody can build a building. And I think you've seen that there's some incredible buildings. The biggest thing we really invest in, again, is our people. We hold things like week-long universities, which you kind of see on here, where we do a ton of training. We pay the best in retail. There's no doubt about it. Being employee-owned and having those people that they work for Scheels, they automatically earn stock and ownership in the company. And what you'll find is, and I think you see it more so ever than today, when you talk about what is the future of retail, because there's a lot of things and everybody buys things online. People still want to go into the store, but they want to talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about. And we hire experts. If you love to hunt, you're going to talk to a hunting expert, or fish, or fashion, or all those things. And Scheels is an odd collection of shops, but wherever you go, you'll find people who know what they're talking about. And we invest so heavily in training, whether it's weekly training on the store to universities all over the country where we send people off to. So you'll definitely feel that in a Scheels store. The other thing is true specialty. I was talking to somebody here in Oklahoma City today, and Mizzen in Maine came up, which is a men's fashion brand, and you actually can't buy it anywhere in Oklahoma City. I think one of the things that you'll find at Scheels is we have Viore, we have Seven Diamonds, Mizzen in Maine, Hoka, all of those brands, and then inside of our stores we build out concept shops for Trek, which is shown there on the screen, and you can find a $200 pair of jeans if you want to at Scheels, which is odd. Bath bombs, which are the soaps. I don't know a lot about those, but Trek to anything hunting. We really pride ourselves in the stores, and it's one of the reasons why they're so large. But we're finding that a lot of our retail partners, while they love to sell direct to consumer, if you can provide a real experience with experts, a lot of brands that they won't sell to a lot of other retailers, but they'll go into Scheels. And so that's one of the differences. And we have 80 specialty shops throughout the store. So switching gears a little bit, where are we going? That's why we're here today. If you have social media, you might have heard something yesterday. We try to keep that as quiet as possible, but believe me, I got a lot of messages yesterday. And right now we have 34 stores. We're gonna open in Cedar Park, which is northwest Austin, next year. Wauwatosa, which is a suburb of Milwaukee, in 2027. And then the goal is, we hope, to be in Oklahoma City in the spring of 2028. And so we don't have a lot of stores. We're very much a slow growth. We're a crock pot, not a microwave. And so very slowly expanding and making sure, again, that we have a steady future for our employee owners. And we're never going to be the biggest. We don't want to be the biggest. We just want to be the best. And so our kind of thought is we're going to build 1, maybe 2 stores a year, and that's it. But they're going to be special. They're not going to be things that are popping up all over the place. And to be honest with you, there might only be 1 or 2 in every state, depending on that. And again, our goal is to make sure that they're special. And so when we grew up, you'll see there's a lot in North Dakota and Minnesota. They were a little bit smaller. We've expanded them, but now they're kind of all mostly flagship stores, as we call them, where they have the signature Ferris wheel and all the bells and whistles that they entail. Highlight a little bit of that. And then Scheels is a partner. This is a big one. I think one of the differences that you'll feel with us, and genuinely believe it. I can tell you that. Steve and our board that's there now. Why are you in business? Number one, it's for our employees. That's why any business is in business. They want to take care of their employees. 2, we want to provide something great for the community in terms of a service. We're a sporting goods store. And the third one is we want to give back. And that's a big piece, and it's not just lip service. I know a lot of places say that, but it is something that's near and dear to our heart. And we are going to partner with the community with time in terms of we've got our Helping Hands program where we have our associates get out into the community. Every full-time associate at Scheels gets $500 every year that they can give to whatever they want to. That could be a friend's house that burned down. That could be a charity, but they can give to that. On top of that, a store like this in Oklahoma City, Not counting those things, not counting all the other stuff, we'll probably give back somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000 a year annually, and it all stays local. They can't give it to some place on the East Coast, West Coast, North, South. They can't give it to Fargo, to the headquarters. It all gets reinvested locally, and those aren't things where it's sponsorships or things like that where we put our name on things. They're giving them to 501(c)(3)s. And it's one of the reasons why you don't see tons and tons of marketing from Scheels or national commercials. We just don't do that. We're very grassroots, and we're just going to invest in the community, and you'll find the communities that we're in, people love the store, and it's because I think we give back to the community. And the last piece, of course, this is an economic development trust, and so, hey, what does that mean? Well, here's the top 40 sporting goods stores in the country. A lot of them are red in terms of Scheels stores. I love this fact. If you know where Eau Claire, Wisconsin is, congratulations, you're a geography major, because most people don't. But there's not a lot of other sporting goods retailers that beat that store, and that's a town of about 65 to 70,000 people. But it beats a lot of our larger competitors in terms of annual visits. And if you take it out and say, well, what about the Macy's, Nordstrom, what about everybody who sells apparel and footwear? Those are your statistics from the last 12 months. So we're going to draw incredible traffic for our communities, and yeah, it's the experience in the store. At a flagship store like this, I would feel really confident that it's going to be 2.5 million visitors a year. The average stay is going to be about 2 hours. Maybe it's about 1 hour and 45 minutes during the week, about 2.5 hours on the weekend. They're going to travel from a long ways. I can tell you there's a lot of people who come from Oklahoma City to Texas. I used to work at that store. But about nearly 20% of our sales come from outside of a 100-mile radius of the store. So there's people traveling quite a ways. Jobs, 200 plus full-time positions will be at 500 people total. Those will average, our specialty shop managers, who will have 85 of those will start at $50-some thousand a year, probably more, I guess, by 2028. But then our assistant store leaders, who we'll have about 25, 26 of, those start in the low 70s and go to about $115,000 a year for those assistant store leaders. And then, of course, part-time will be a large number too. And conservatively, I would say that payroll at least will be probably for this store $15 or $16 million a year. In terms of construction, they're expensive. There's no doubt about it. We don't do anything cheap. We don't do anything for the short term. They're $100+ million just in construction. That's before inventory, before fixtures, before pre-opening expenses, before any of that. In reality, they're north of $150 million project to open them. So they're a huge, huge project, but they're built to be there in the community for 30+, 40 years. Again, thinking long term, not about what's the short term. Again, what's in the best interest of our shareholders. So that's a little bit about Scheels. Who are we? We're not necessarily a department store. We're not a sporting goods store. People do think often we're a mall. We've got specialty shops, but it is rather unique, and I say that humbly. There's no doubt about it. You can't listen to me and think, wow, but I honestly say that humbly. But I just wanted to explain a little bit as we come before you of, if you're not familiar with us, who is Scheels? So with that, I'm happy to take any questions and go ahead and fire them away at me.
You mentioned Steve Scheels that had recently retired. Can you kind of tell us the origins, how this all began?
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I feel privileged to have worked with Steve. So we started in 1902, and that's the thing you'll see on the website, in very small, humble beginnings. But I will tell you, it was in the late 70s when Steve D. Scheel, who just recently retired, we had a lot of smaller stores, hardware stores that carried sporting goods, and he got the idea of what if we just went into sporting goods? And so we did that in Sioux Falls roughly in about 1980. And then in Iowa City in 1998, we kind of opened the first two-level big sporting goods store. And he loves, if he were here, he would tell the story of an economic professor wrote a huge article that showed up on the front page of the paper in the Iowa City Journal saying a 100,000 square foot sporting goods store would never work in Iowa City. And it turns out that it did. And shortly after that professor retired, which Steve Steve wrote him a nice letter and said, hey, you know, we're going to make it. We're going to be okay. But he really was a visionary. He is our Walt Disney of sorts. And, you know, he's 77 and just retired last summer, just loved the business. And, you know, it was a privilege to work with him. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Trevor, how's the Tulsa operation going?
Very good. You know, I get that question. I've met some people.
Yeah,
in the
and why did you
community,
pick
like,
Tulsa
hey, why Tulsa
first?
before Oklahoma City? You know, great question. You know, because we do look at a lot of places, and it is tough to pick. In that particular one, all the stars kind of aligned, to be honest with you, coming out of COVID too. It was a real interesting time, and who could, you know, get things, you know, because these projects have to start 2.5 to 3 years in advance to make them happen. So when you think about when that opened, it was 2022 when we were making that decision. That being said, Tulsa's doing fantastic, which can people like, wow, they're doing great. What could it do here? And I will tell you, earmuffs if you're from Tulsa, I think this store will be probably, I think it will surpass that one. I think it's fair to say based off of my, but we're very encouraged on Oklahoma City just with everything going on here. There's obviously a lot. My wife and I went to a Zach Bryan concert here not too long ago, and she's like, wow, this is Oklahoma City. I said, yeah, it's pretty amazing when you get into it and you learn more about it. And so we feel that this store will certainly be the king of the state, if you will. And honestly, we think it'll be one of our top stores, which is why, you know, this is probably we haven't finalized it yet because we're just not that far along, but it's going to be a 300,000 square foot store, which will be a monster.
Any other questions, comments? Yes.
I had,
Thank you for asking that. I had the same question. And if you're able to share, are there certain sites that you're already looking at?
In this community?
Yes.
Yes, there's one north of here. I think if you head straight north, and geez, I'm blanking on it was right out there now, but not the Quail Springs Mall, which I know there's a lot of speculation about that. But there is an open chunk of land just northwest of there. I apologize.
We're really, it's an area around Memorial and Hefner Parkway, kind
Yes.
of northwest piece of that. And that's intended to, you know, eventually, this is not a done deal. You know, obviously these things have many things to go, but it's something that I think is intended to be a new development. This would be an anchor development for it. To help
One of the things I can share with that is we're very particular of, as we've kind of come along now, and when we build stores, we want to build something special. And so we look for, we certainly could do mall stores, and we do on occasion where it's like, wow, this is a great market. You can't find, because the stores are so big. They take a ton of land. If we include parking, they take 14 acres. But now we've really, and I heard Kenny mention a little bit about what retail is, and we see that as it's got to be a place where you can shop, entertainment, you can eat, have dinner. It can't be the normal mall, and so we're really focusing on projects as we look at them from around the country that it's going to be a big project that's going to be a destination. So that's what we want to be a part of because we think that's what we're doing. So we found an opportunity here, hopefully if all goes to plan, where we can do that and create more than just Scheels, but a number of partners, whether that's entertainment or food or just a place you can hang out with families. And if you look into us, we're very big into the family experience. So.
let's see if mine's on. Yeah. I'm not familiar with Scheels, but I was just wondering, you had the comparison of like the other retail stores and quite a few different ones on there, but who would be your competitor or similar?
Yeah.
Because you have like Macy's and other ones, so those are all very different.
It's a great question. We are fairly unique. When you go into a store, it's like, how does this all come together? Where you have women's fashion, and then you have soccer balls, and then you have, it's really something for everyone. It's an odd collection. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife, but it works. I always tell people, what is a Scheels store when I explain? It's a Nordstrom It's a Dick's House of Sports, and it's a Bass Pro all rolled into one. I think that's one of the things that kind of helps us appeal to the entire family. But it really is that, because you will find a lot of the great brands that you would expect at a Nordstrom, but everything you would expect at any of the other stores too, which is an odd collection. So there are certainly a couple people on that list that are probably trying to mimic that. I see a lot of those folks that would be in Texas exploring my store, all the way from Ed Stack himself with Dick's Sporting Goods or Academy, that are looking for that recipe. And I don't know how we got here, but we did. It's really evolved over the last 30 years, but I would say it's those three kind of rolled into one.
Okay, and that answered my who's your ideal shopper question.
It's definitely families. There's no doubt about it. I think there's a few categories. Somebody had asked me, we had a new hire, I can't remember. You get great questions from new hires sometimes. And she said, well, what's the next, I can't remember what she said, white whale or whatever it would be. And I said, kids clothing. Nobody does kids clothing well. I've got a 7-year-old, and so if you would go to the Colony, Texas, the first shop you'll see, well, you got Dallas Cowboys on the right, which is sacrilegious to say in Oklahoma, but on the left it's youth clothing, and we carry everything, and we get a lot of brands that come to us that are direct to consumer only, that if you're a mom or a dad of a young child, you'll know, and they want to go to a Scheels store. And so our ideal shopper is everybody. I mean, it really is, because we're really well known for the hunting and fishing, but yet, a lot of the events and all the other things, they just draw it really is a family thing, which is why we have the restaurants in the store, because you'll see those restaurants will be jam-packed with families on the weekend. So I can't tell you it's anybody, I can't tell you it's an age group, because it's A to Z, it really is.
And then you touched on the employee piece. So since, the job creation is a big part of it, what's your makeup of your employees? Since you have a big focus on the employees, what is your normal, or who do you tap into to hire? Is it what age group or demographic?
Oh, yeah. Again, it's an interesting, because you get the whole gamut, because if you stock a store with that, you get all those people who are attracted to all those things too. Certainly a lot of young people, whether it's college or high school kids, the gamut, but then we have a lot of folks who are retired, to a number of teachers. It really is a unique melting pot. If you're into a Scheels store, it's you've got the person, it's their first job, who's 16 and they're a cashier, to somebody who, I had a board member from FedEx in Texas. Was a board member on FedEx for 10 years, and then he worked part-time, still does, in the archery shop. And he's 70 years old, and he's like, I just love working here. He's like, I did the corporate career of my whole life, and now I'm doing this. So it really is a mix of people. So I couldn't tell you it's anyone.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
All right, with that, we can go ahead and take a motion on item 4B. We have a motion and a second. And the item passes. Item 4C is a joint resolution approving the allocation of Gold Bond proceeds in an amount not to exceed $175,000 for job creation incentives to Kearney National Incorporated. Mr. Sudol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this, I'm happy to share, is a job creation deal, and this would be the allocation. We'd obviously have to bring back the agreement. But this is for the creation of 81 new jobs over 5 years with an average annual wage of just under $51,000. Payroll that's just under $1 million, ramping up to around $4 million by the 5th year is what the plan is on this. So this is with Kearney National Inc. And did we have, I think we had Fred Vermeer. You, Fred, President and CEO, here to tell you a little bit more about the company.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. My name is Fred Vermeer. I'm the former president and CEO of Hepco Pole Products. I just retired in June. I started this project with the company, and I like to get it to the finish line also. So they retained me as a project manager for this. on the next slide. You can see that HAPCO Pole Product is actually the trade name. We're part of Kearney National, that's a legal entity, and then the Dyson Kissner Moran Corporation owns all the stock for the Kearney National. HAPCO Pole Products is a full subsidiary of Kearney National and is owned by the Dyson Kissner Moran Corporation. What do we do? On the next slide. We actually manufacture aluminum light poles and also flag poles in large quantities. We're very well established on the East Coast and are actually looking to expand to the Midwest and also to the West. So on I-40, we found Oklahoma City and thought that from Abingdon, Virginia, where we're located right now, going to the west, it's almost a straight line, and that's actually why we are looking at Oklahoma City. Why aluminum light poles and not the steel light poles or the composite light poles that you see everywhere? Aluminum light poles are light, they are a superior material, have a lower cost of ownership than steel or composite materials. They do not rust, they do not need paint, and are environmentally friendly. So that's why we're focused on the aluminum part of the business. As you probably already know, most flag poles are of aluminum because they're the shiny poles that you see everywhere. We were established in 1843 and got acquired by Dyson Kissner Moran in 1962. For over 63 years, we've had our facility in Abingdon, Virginia. We are not just in Abingdon, Virginia, that's the manufacturing facility, but we also have a location in Dallas where we sell flag poles, and one in Minnesota, in Elkin, Minnesota. Next slide, please. Where do we sell these light poles? We sell them all over the country, but mostly right now on the East Coast. Like I said, we'd like to go west. We sell them to Department of Transportation. We sell them to utilities, commercial, municipal, and recreational markets. And most recently, as you probably saw on the news, we were the supplier of the 2 poles that actually went up on the White House, on the lawn. We offer a complete solution, including design assistance, custom fabrication in Abingdon, but in Oklahoma, what we want to do first is just manufacture and have a shorter shipping to the West Coast. Next slide. Talked a little bit about our customers already. We do a lot of it utilities, but also with municipalities. We do 30 states of Department of Transportation, so all the highways, interstates that you see, we supply the poles for that. 45 municipalities. Municipalities really is a growing business for us because we like to convince the municipality that they're spending a lot of time on maintenance with steel and composite poles. You know, composite poles are very receptive to weed whackers on the bottom. You get those nice white spots when the weed whacker goes over it, but they also discolor. They start off totally black, but then they get grayer and grayer and grayer. And the way to see that is if you look at the light is still pretty black, but the pole is almost gray. Aluminum poles don't have that option. We're also very well involved in military bases, not just for lights, but also for security. Cameras and that kind of stuff is also being hung on poles. And in the past couple of years, we have been very much involved in the 5G rollout of the telephone systems because those poles are really good to hang transmitters on. Okay, next slide. What are we looking for in this expansion that we have? We actually looked at a 10-hour radius around Abingdon, and we kind of went to Shreveport, Dallas, Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, Kansas City. That's kind of a 10-hour drive with a truck that we can supply the poles that we manufacture in one of our subsidiaries for manufacturing in Oklahoma. We think that Dallas has options, but Oklahoma City is right now the one that we're looking at. And that's why we're here. We think we're ideally situated on I-40. That's a big advantage for us, especially with transportation costs as high as they are. And we're looking at a 270,000 square feet manufacturing building on what is called OKC 577. 81 new jobs. I think that's actually conservative. I think there's going to be more, and it's going to be faster because we really like to ramp up the aluminum pole manufacturing to the West Coast and in the Midwest. Average salary, like I already said, $51,000. Machinery and equipment, we're going to invest $14 million in that to put that machine and rest of the equipment up. And we're looking at real estate that is somewhere around $35 to $40 million. So a pretty nice project, pretty expensive project for us. This is the first major expansion that we're doing, but we're seeing a lot of opportunities for aluminum poles because of the cost of ownership. Next slide. I think I already talked about this slide a lot. Oklahoma has been very good to us. We've seen a lot of opportunities here. We're very happy that the state is industry friendly. You have a very skilled labor force. We took a quick look at that, and we're very happy with what we're seeing. Also, the universities, the development, all of that is in your favor. The colleges, especially interested for us. The labor force that we have, one of the questions that was asked earlier, what kind of labor force are you looking for? In a manufacturing facility, it's very important that people show up at work every day because you put a lot of effort in training. We have a lot of welders. We're looking for aluminum welders because that's one of the main jobs that we have. If a welder doesn't show up, one of the stations is not occupied and that line cannot produce. So we're looking to invest in the people, in the training, and you have a lot of opportunities for training here already available, and I understand that the amount of welders that you have, although they're steel welders or aluminum welders, are readily available. Very good for us. Take a look at the site. I think you all know where this is located, and on the right side of the, next slide please. On the right side, you can see the kind of location that we have. It's dirt right now. We're working with architects to make sure that we have all the facilities in place, and we do the layout of the facility. We have an old facility in Abingdon, and as most old facilities, it's kind of a patchwork of buildings. So the ideal flow is not really there. In this facility, we try to get very straight line flow. As you can understand, the light pole is like 50 feet long. It doesn't move very well with a forklift. It has to go in a straight line. It's almost like a car manufacturing that goes straight over and then back. So that's what we're looking at in this facility also. The next slide gives you a little bit of an idea of what the proposed site looked like with a truck road all the way around and some storage on the outside for the raw material. And then just a rendering of what we see. HAPCO, civic engagement and philanthropy. We are involved in Abingdon with the Southwest Virginia Manufacturing Alliance. I was actually on the board with that, and we do a lot of good work there with the other manufacturers. We like to share our ideas. We like to share quality improvements. We like to share the training. So there's a lot of things that are going on there. We'd like to do the same thing here. Also, the Virginia Highlands Community College. That is also one of the things that we have worked with. We actually have a welding school there. So we actually established that welding school. We gave 2 welders to that school, and one of our former employees is actually doing the training for the welding. So that gives us the opportunity to look at the students that they have and for us to get the best pick for our plant. Local community, we sponsor baseball teams, football teams, anything that you can think of that our employees are involved in. We like to get the word out that we're there and that we're happy to help everybody. That's us. We'd like your approval to support this project. Any questions?
Any questions? Go ahead.
What's your timing relative to your final decision to do this, and how long will it take to get up and running?
Up and running? Mm-hmm. Right now, we're working with the architect. That should take 30 days to get an idea of the total cost, final cost. After that, we were told 10 to 12 months to be up and running. I think that's very optimistic. I've done 1 or 2 of these projects before. Builders are optimistic, very optimistic sometimes.
Haven't encountered Oklahoma City builders.
No, I hope it's going to be a good experience. We might do it again then, or expand. But I would say 12 to 14 months to be up and running. Yeah.
Anything else? All right, thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. All right, we can take a motion on item 4C. We have a motion, and a second. Please vote. The item passes. Item 4D is a joint resolution approving allocations from TIF 9 not to exceed $350,000 and TIF 15 not to exceed $150,000 to help fund construction of the MAPS 4 project entitled the Clara Luper Civil Rights Center. Mr. Sudel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as you mentioned, there are 2 different TIF allocations, and Christina Beatty is going to come up and kind of give you a short presentation on this project. You know, like many other projects, this one has in need of additional funding with all the inflation and things we've seen. This happens to be geographically in an area that we can assist with TIF, like we've done on a couple of others. And Joanna and the city team worked together to look at this and felt like we had these balances available, and really to help this wonderful project that's in a corridor that we're all working together trying to redevelop. So I'll turn it over to you, Christina, if you'll give us a quick presentation on what this is.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Christina Beatty. I'm Executive Director of the Freedom Center of Oklahoma City, who will be the operator for the Clara Luper Civil Rights Center. Let's see, how do I click this myself? The down arrow all the way, got you. Okay, so this is the site. We're situated on North Martin Luther King Avenue. The new construction build will go between, really the building will go between Madison and 24th. The overall site stretches to 25th, and all of that is just south of the historic Freedom Center building, which you see here. This was during construction when it was wrapped in that lovely green insulation. So these are just some high-level renderings, but overall the concept of the building is just over 17,000 square feet. It will, and you'll see a floor plan here in just a bit, but really looking to contribute to this corridor, looking at this project as both an educational resource and a tourism resource. Let's see, some additional images. So this is from the south looking north. And these areas here are the classrooms on the south side of the building. This is from Martin Luther King Avenue, and so you'll see really trying to create a monumental feel. The materials are brick and kind of a concrete-like paneling in the upper level, so even though we had to reduce the overall mass of the building and make it one story, we still wanted to have that kind of strong feeling. And this is a little bit about how everything will sit on the site. And so again, the new construction will lie between 24th and Madison, with parking primarily to the west, really wanting to improve the pedestrian experience in this area, creating shade trees, improved sidewalks, greenery. We're working with some other partners on trying to do some additional things here to create a plaza. And you'll see here in this grassy area, we already are planning for a future expansion in terms of how it can sit on the site just to the south there. So thinking about what we can do now and what we can do in the future, but overall working to create just a wonderful resource for the community and for the city as a whole. And so these next slides will kind of give you a sense of how we plan to use the building with the floor plans. These are kind of the primary large event space for both our programming and for rentals as a revenue stream. With the pre-function space here, you'll see it's divisible. I believe this is sized to fit roughly 200 to 250 at rounds, depending on configuration, if there's a stage, et cetera. And then shifting to the more community and educational spaces. So you see we have 2 classrooms here designed to hold about 45 each. We have a boardroom, and this is kind of a lounge gathering area as you enter. I should have mentioned the main entrance here is on the north side of the building, and so this is, as folks enter, this will be kind of a gathering space, marshaling space for groups. Administrative offices to the southwest corner. We're looking to staff up to 21 FTEs. And then what we're really here to talk about today is exhibitry and storytelling. You'll see that in all of the work we did to make the space as efficient as possible, we are using 2 spaces, kind of double duty, both that pre-function area and the lounge also as gallery space for storytelling. We've also created a widened gallery hallway at about 13 feet wide to be able to really utilize that wall space and still have appropriate egress. And so these are just some images, very preliminary. We actually, since this presentation was created, started working with Gallagher and Associates as our exhibition designer. Gallagher is a very well-known national firm that does all of the exhibitry for the National Memorial Museum. But this is to kind of give you a sense just spatially of how we can work both furniture and exhibitry in the lounge space that is just to the left once you come through that entrance. Similarly, giving you a sense of scale in terms of how we can utilize that widened hallway for exhibition and storytelling. And the pre-function area outside of the main Freedom Hall. And you'll see that there are a number of things here. We're looking at projections, we're looking at all the different ways we can use a wall space, whether that's exhibiting objects. We have the whole Freedom Center Community Archive, which is all of the items that came out of the historic building. And so thinking about how all of the different ways that we can use that material in other artifacts as well. So this is the overall MAPS budget. Our total project is at $26.8 million. Of that, 9.6 is the operations and maintenance fund. So we're really looking at 17.2 for the project itself. But if you look even within that, after you take out land acquisition, the public art, the design, admin, and testing, we're really looking at 11.8 for construction. And so that's why we're here today to ask for additional support. You know, as you all well know, the MAPS projects are all having to get very creative with budgets that were passed pre-pandemic. And we are asking for this funding specifically to go towards those exhibitry elements. And so this is how we're looking at our current cost estimate. As we've worked through the MAPS process and presented to our subcommittee, it was very important to our subcommittee members that part of the city's investment goes directly to the storytelling. Otherwise, the city is just building a building. And so you'll see here, again, that fixed limit of construction is sitting at 11.8. And this additional funding would give us the ability to include exhibition and storytelling elements in the base bid, bringing the total project budget to 12.3, which is right in alignment with where we're sitting in terms of current estimates. I believe the firm that Bacchus Payne is our local architect of record. I believe the cost estimator they're working with is Palacio. This is also just demonstrating some other things that we're looking at in terms of working with various partners. Very hopeful to get some power line burial, working with OG&E on that. But all of that is just, again, these are ad alternates. We're really focused right now on hitting that mark with the base bid at 12.3. And then this is an overall schedule summary. We have had the preliminary report approved by council. We are in the midst of construction documents now, hopeful to get that completed by the end of the year, also passed through the process and by council to start bidding really at the top of the year and break ground in the first quarter with a 2027 anticipated opening. And I believe that is the end of the presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Have you been to Greenwood in Tulsa?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have. Greenwood is roughly an 11,000 square foot building. It's actually smaller. They don't really have much in the way of, they have a different balance. We really prioritized the classroom spaces and the programming spaces because that's really central to our mission. They took a different approach in prioritizing the exhibition spaces in terms of how they utilize the building. And so, yeah, but we definitely actually took a trip with our architects and a number of folks. Gosh, I believe that was like November, December 23, and we visited Greenwood Rising. We visited the Bob Dylan Museum because that's also very archive-centric. We also visited the University of Tulsa museum that's under construction. It was actually really cool because we got to go in the building as it was under construction. It was a true hard hat tour. So, but yeah, definitely look into our partners across the city and across the state.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious. I've been there. I was amazed with it. I was just kind of curious about the comparison between the two. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I just have one more as far as okay, there we go. As far as like, I know you're working with the architects and with Gallagher and all that, so I'm sure they're very familiar, but I'm just curious on does that include like the keeping the facility secure part of it, or is that separate conversation once it's already established?
Can you say a little bit more about what you mean by that?
As far as I know, you have the storm shelter. So that's one big part that I appreciated, but I'm thinking more of like the facility security piece of it. And I'm thinking since you have artifacts and all these other things, I know that could be very much impacted in the
so
future.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, that's largely an insurance issue. Also, frankly, that's why when we had to right-size the project, those more specialized elements were the first ones to come out. And we're planning for that as part of that future expansion with the GO bond, should that be passed. And so, but you're absolutely right that yes, those are really highly specialized spaces in terms of HVAC and humidity tracking and all of those things to be able to keep all of those artifacts and things safe. And that's why at this stage, we're looking at more of some of those digital elements, reproductions of most of our artifacts in the archive are paper, which is very sensitive. And so, we may do some things behind casing, but we're working to digitize it now so that we can reproduce them and have reproductions on display and keep the original safe.
I was curious when you said that, the downsizing and the first, instead of the second floor, I was curious about that, so.
Yeah, we originally, when we went through the business planning process, we were looking at 26,000 square feet with a dedicated gallery at about 3,000 square feet, a reading room and archival storage at about another 1,000 square feet. And so again, those are pieces that have been punted into a second phase if we are able to get the support of the GO bond, and we'll likely do a capital campaign as well to supplement that because those are very highly specialized spaces. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No, thank you very much. We appreciate
Thank you.
All right, with that, we can take a motion on item 4D. We have a motion and a second. That item passes as well. Item 4E is a joint resolution certifying that Wild Rooster LLC's proposed feature film project is eligible under the SIP Film Incentive Program and approving an allocation not to exceed $181,298. Ms. Simpson.
Good afternoon. I'll wait for the slide to come up. So this is a project that came to me through the State Film Office back in May. It's a group out of LA. They came in to scout for 2 days in early June, and they fell in love with it. They absolutely fell in love with Oklahoma City. None of them had been here before. It's a feature film, and it is a road trip. It's semi-autobiographical story from the director about his older brother who was a professor at Harvard and had mental health struggles. He goes to pick him up at Harvard to drive him cross country to get treatment. So these are the events that happen along the way. Filming dates are October through November of this year. They want to be done by Thanksgiving. They've set up a company that'll be registered in Oklahoma called Wild Rooster LLC. It's all practical locations, no soundstage. It'll be name cast, which I can't talk about yet, and the contracts aren't yet done. 70% of the crew will be Oklahoma City based, and they're anticipating expenditures of $3.89 million, so they'll be in the 5% range. Again, local expenditures meet the 5% range of $3.880905. The criteria we used in approving them were meeting the $500,000 expenditure, more than 50% of crew hired locally, more than 50% of filming days within Oklahoma City. Main production office will be in Oklahoma City, yet to be determined where, and they're pre-qualified for the state rebate. We have recommended, after running their numbers through our economic impact modeler, that they receive a 5% rebate of $181,298. So the estimated number of local Oklahoma City Metro hires is relatively small, but this film has a small footprint. It's 35 plus hires, which equates to 1,400 man days when you extrapolate that out over the production schedule, which is 8 weeks, I believe, at 5-day weeks. 70% Oklahoma City residents. Qualifying labor income, taxable labor, is $2,639,027. Filming days in Oklahoma City, 23 days, which is 82%. And I don't yet know about post-production. It's too early to know if they're going to do it here locally. So 82% of filming days in Oklahoma City, 70% are Oklahoma City Metro resident hires, and 90% of the vendors will be Oklahoma City, and as always, they will have an eye toward diverse vendors. So the economic impact numbers, after running it through the modeler, jobs supported, direct and indirect. First of all, it's 8.8 million total economic impact. Jobs supported, 313. Labor income, 4.3 million. Qualified expenditures will be $3,880,905, and that breaks out into taxable expenditures of $518,065. Below the line salary, which is the crew, is 1.4 million, a little over. And above the line, we had to reduce because we capped that at 25%, so we did take off a percentage of their above the line, bringing it to $970,226. Any questions? I will add the timing of this film is really great because we need work right now, and this will leave, I believe, a remainder in the rebate program. For this first 3 years, I'll have about $400,000 left.
Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we can take a motion on item 4E. We have a motion. Need a second. Oh. All right, now we can take a vote. The item passes. Brings us to item 4F, an agreement authorizing the establishment of a capital reserve fund for the First Americans Museum not to exceed $1.5 million.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just very quickly, as part of our operations and maintenance agreement, it provides that OCDT can establish a capital reserve fund for the FAM. And if you'll recall, there were funds set aside last year. There was $2 million set aside for future operations or capital needs in a fund within OCDT. So this is doing is pursuant to a plan that's been submitted by the FAM working with city staff. This would set aside $1.5 million of that to do capital improvements. So there's a list attached with this item of things that need to be done there, and it's things like chiller replacement, working on water intrusion, glass replacements, things like that. So it's really kind of these maintenance and upkeep items at the museum. And this was all provided for in our previously agreed to agreements, and the funding set aside already. So this is just allocating $1.5 million of the $2 million. There'll be about $500,000 still sitting there that could be allocated for other future capital or operations.
Any questions for Mr. Siddle?
I have a question. I'm looking at the agreement. Did we recently approved an operations agreement with them
I believe it's from
from 2025 through 2026 at $4 million?
That's the budgeted amount. I believe the agreement's from like 2019.
I think
Maybe.
it's 2019.
Yeah. So
Okay. So,
Yeah, it was a pre-opening agreement. That operations agreement was established before the FAM opened to the public.
I believe there's an agreement in 2016 with the FAM and the city and OMES when all that was being transferred, and then it was assigned in 2017, I believe, to the Economic Development Trust. And then I think, I'm not sure there are other agreements, but the 2019, I believe, is the latest one.
There are a lot of agreements.
Yes.
I'm just looking at page 1 here, and it says the 2025 through 2026 annual operations fee was approved for $4 million. Is that what you all are referencing to?
That's their annual funding agreement, so that's operational funding.
That was just for
Yeah.
operations. Okay, well, you had just mentioned the 1.5 could include operations?
No,
or this is
yeah, so
for capital?
the $4 million's the regular operating dollars. Previously, in addition to all that, there was $2 million set aside that could be used for future either operations or capital. So this is in addition to that. This would be setting the $1.5 million aside in addition for capital improvements.
Oh, just
Yeah,
capital?
yeah, just
improvements,
capital.
Not operations?
Correct.
Okay, that's, yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Because you said operations.
The $500,000 that's still left over could go to either in the future, but this body would have to make that determination.
Okay, but the $4 million is for one fiscal year,
Yes.
For operations.
for operations?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, ma'am.
Kenny, if you looked at what they were projecting in future for 5 years, how is that going to be handled?
You're referring to the list that has a lot of other future needs in it.
Yeah, so I kind of likened this a little bit to Myriad and Scissortail. So we set aside a little bit of capital every year through the general fund operational allocation. So we do the operating amount to support their operations, and then we do some for capital. And so I think it's just going to have to build up over time to help with those other projects in the future. Yep.
But it's definitely something we'll have to manage, just like any other facility, and trying to plan. I think it's good we have sort of at least a roadmap of what they might need.
Yep.
All right, with that, we can go ahead and take a motion on item 4F. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. The item passes. Item 4G is a joint resolution renewing agreements of support in connection with debt obligations issued by the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust, retroactive to July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. Mr. Siddle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just very quickly, as a reminder, this is a case where OCDT has different debt obligations we've done for different projects. This includes downtown TIF, the Devon TIF, the First National, and the Omni bonds. And these are things where the city loans its AAA rating to help enhance the credit, but because the city cannot encumber future councils, they have to do an annual sort of re-up of this, backing these obligations. So this is something that we do annually. You see this annually, so it's just the normal thing, other than we just list out kind of what's outstanding on those different bond issues. So this is something we would definitely, it's a benefit to OCDT with the lower rates and all using the city's credit.
Any questions? All right, we can take a motion on this item. Please vote. The item passes. Item 4H is to receive the Oklahoma City Economic Development Foundation Fiscal Year 2025 Fourth Quarter Report.
So I'm going to call up Dennis Pruitt, Senior Vice President of Economic Development, the new Senior Vice President of Economic Development for the Chamber. And Dennis has been there for about a little over 3 months. And I'm very sorry we brought you to the longest meeting here. Made you sit through the whole thing to give her the update. So he's here to give us the update. We have a lot of activity going on. Go ahead, Dennis.
Thank you, Kenny. Good afternoon, Chairman Stone, members of the Trust. I'm very excited to be here. This is my first of, I hope, very many meetings with you in the future. I am new, as Kenny mentioned. I've been here just a little bit, 4 months. I came here from St. Louis, where I was with a group called Missouri Partnership, and now I'm here at the just down the block. You got to see 2 of my colleagues today, Jennifer Martin and Jill Simpson. That's an example of the type of work that we do. We work daily with Kenny and his team, and we believe strongly that economic development is a team sport. We work with the city officials, we work with county officials, we work with other institutions across Oklahoma City, Oklahoma County, and the greater 10-county partnership. So we're excited about the direction that the city is moving. We're excited about the population growth, the increasing jobs, the project pipeline. So I have the report that was given to you. I'm happy to go through some of that with you, or I could go over just a few of my priorities as a new person here. I thought that might be more helpful than going through, but the good news is that the fourth quarter was strong, and if you look at the year-end data, we did meet, we exceeded all of our metrics, performance metrics with the city, and so we're excited about the year that ended, but we never rest. We're always pushing forward, asking the team, what can we do more? How can we go deeper? How can we be more effective? How can we source more of our leads? And so some of my priorities as the new Senior Vice President, really working with our existing companies. My background is investment recruitment into the state, but I want to really focus, and what I'm really excited about this job is that opportunity to get plugged into our existing companies. 80% of our growth is going to come from them. They're underappreciated. The attention in the media is always on somebody new and shiny. We need to really pay attention to our existing companies. And so we're working to add another staff member to support Eric Williams on the important work that he does. But this is something that's important to me, and I really want to grow this as I move into my future with the Oklahoma City Chamber. I also want to spend time on developing our own leads. We have a great partnership with the Oklahoma Department of Commerce. We have a great relationship with our 10-county region, but we need to be in more control of our destiny when it comes to these leads. And so we are going to dedicate more staff and money to business development and getting out there and be more active in our attraction and sourcing our own leads. We will do that through active engagement in industrial events like trade shows. We will continue to deepen our relationship with site selection consultants, and we will try to get out as much as possible with our companies and get to meet them face to face. And I think that business development is strongly correlated to business retention and expansion. If we can recruit companies that are supporting our existing industries, like HAPCO, and how that's going to positively impact OG&E and Tinker. I was just really impressed by that presentation. That's the type of companies I really want to bring into Oklahoma City. We're doing a lot of planning internally. We are realigning our staff to meet the needs of the industry. We know that economic development is not static, and so our team should not have the same function that it had for the last 3 years. As the economy changes, as economic development evolves, what can we do to position ourselves to take advantage of those changes? I've already mentioned adding a business development function, strengthening our business retention and expansion. Those are 2 examples of how we're realigning and continue to strengthen our research component. We're also focused on customer service. How can we make sure that we are distributing the leads that come to us on a timely basis? How can we respond to the RFIs that, how can we streamline that process and make it more effective and more responsive to what the client needs? Look at the RFIs, our site visits from the project, from the client's perspective. When we look at our presentations, are we rinsing and repeating, or are we really customizing to what the client in front of us really needs? And so we're focusing our efforts on increasing our quality of our presentations to companies. Site planning, this is where I spend most of my time with Kenny, is, we're only as strong as the sites that we have. And while we have a lot of land, we don't have a lot of sites. And there's a huge difference between farmland or ranch land and an industrial site or a retail site. So we are working with OG&E, we're working with the Alliance, we're working with our partnerships to pre-identify these industrial sites as well as retail sites. And along the way, redevelop some of those sites that need to be fixed up. We are strengthening our partnership. I'm actively meeting with our partners in the 10-county region. I've met with Shawnee, I've met with Stillwater and Cushing. I'm going down to Norman and Chickasha tomorrow. How do we get out there, or Thursday, how do we get out there and really hear what's going on? And that ties into the importance of small town development as well. While Oklahoma City is really the engine, we have so many strong communities around us, and we need to strengthen them as well. And finally, a priority for me is foreign direct investment. We have a lot of opportunities internationally. I think we should also look at it as, again, back to that BRE lens. How do we help our existing companies with their exports? How can we bring in international companies with their technology and their investment and their new ideas to widen our market? So I will put a lot of focus on foreign direct investment. Some special interests for me are really trying to fill the Expand campus. I think that's a big hole, a big opportunity for our city, and we are working with the developer. We're continuing to push that site. I think it's a really important site for us as a city. It's the type of jobs that we need, and it would really strengthen the northern part of the city. Aerospace, biosciences, film, and destination retail will continue to be top priorities for us. And then, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I want to make sure that we're not neglecting our small towns and the rural areas within our region. So that's kind of a quick overview of my priorities are. Those will change as we evolve and we get a better understanding of what the reality is, but I really look forward to continuing to meet with you on a regular basis, whether it's in this formal structure or in a social structure. I would really like to get to know your priorities and see how we as a chamber can support you and the city. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pruitt. Appreciate it.
Dennis?
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. You had a question.
Dennis, I really value your comment about focusing on our existing businesses. And they're not the shiny penny that gets all the attention. We have gotten them this far, our existing businesses. They need to be shown the love too, because they're the ones that made us, and they're the ones that can take us into the future. So thank you for that comment.
You're welcome. I really believe it, and I had a meeting this morning with Eric to see what are some new ideas that we can implement in the coming months to make sure that we're taking care of them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 5 on the agenda is the General Manager's Report.
We need to receive that.
Oh, yeah, we do need to receive that, sorry.
It's over your normal time.
I know, I'm getting sleepy up here, I don't know what's happening. We have a motion and a second, please vote. All right, the item was received. Now the General Manager's Report from June of 2025, Ms. McSpadden.
Yeah, the only comment I'll make, I'll be happy to answer questions after, is that we received our TIF ad valorem checks in June, so you'll see those amounts reflected in the report you have. Happy to answer other questions.
Any other questions? Are we sure? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, do we have any comments from staff? No? Trustees? Any comments? Did any citizens sign up to be heard? Nope. All right, if not, we are at item 7. We are adjourned. Thank you.